Friend. So the Babylonian exile captivity was brought on, and we have a couple of players going that are key people in the house that are leading the people. All of the main players that were players prior to the exile are more monumental now. Why? Because they have a name amongst the children. Whenever there's extreme chaos that erupts amongst people, they always default to the main characters that were already in place prior to the chaos happening. And that's what we see during the Babylon captivity. We have the old players that are already established as leaders in the house. And then we got new players coming up, because that's what chaos does. Chaos provokes people, leaders already with strong leadership capabilities that may not have a name yet, though. And they come up and they rise to the surface, and they somewhat undermine the credibility of the old players. Why? Because the old players, the players that were the main characters of the house prior to the Babylonian exile, a lot of them were already standing out of alignment. Why do you think God allowed the children to go into exile? Why do you think God allowed the children to go into captivity? Do you think God said, well, you guys are walking so perfectly in my will and in alignment to me. You're too perfect. I'm going to go ahead and put you in captivity because you're doing all the right things. No, they were not. They were all out of alignment. God could justify allowing them to go into captivity because they had already shown time and time again activity that would justify such a thing. They themselves knew they were wrong. They themselves knew that this exile, this captivity was justified. They saw it coming. They just didn't know when it would show itself or how. But they knew something was coming. But isn't that how life is? You can go so far with all your stuff, and you know something's coming. I gotta repay this debt somehow. I can't just get away scot-free with all the stuff that I've done. I mean, the level of sin that I've done, I know I'm gonna have to do something. Yet you try to prepare yourself as best you can, right? You try to forecast out all the variables that you can think of as to how it could show itself in your life based upon what you've seen in your life happen to people that have done certain things like you. So you try to prepare yourself. But like many have heard, you want to make God laugh? Tell him your plans. All you got to do is think about it. All you got to do is spend a day out on the balcony that God blessed you to have, or in that environment that God allowed for you to have, or in that peace of mind, or in that safe place that God allowed you to have. And ponder in the mind that God created you and that God allowed you to have. Of all the variables and how you'll overcome them so that you can continuously stay in your seat of comfort that God allowed you to have. God says, I see all your plans, but we're not going to do that because I got a different plan.